Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are watching us from. Okay, so in today's class, we are going to do a recap of what we did in our last class. Okay, and in our last class, we talked about advanced CSS, animations, and building real responsive websites. So we are going to do a recap on that, and we are going to explain that again for those of us that did not understand, and we are going to go into some live coding. Okay, so before we proceed, I want to explain some concepts again. So, in our last class, we talked about mobile first design, right? We also um, learn about media queries, we learned about Flexbox, we learned about animations and transitions and what exactly are these things. Okay, so guys, we are going to go over that again. So by the end of this class, you should be able to explain mobile first design. You should you should be able to use media queries properly. You should be able to build layouts with Flexbox, right? You should be able to use advanced layouts with Grid, CSS Grid. You should be able to combine Grid and Flexbox for real or in real projects, okay? You should as well be able to create smooth UI effects with CSS animations and transitions. And also, you should be able to build a fully responsive website using modern CSS patterns. Okay, so guys, let's dive in. So, what exactly is responsive web design? Now, responsive web design is a web design that adapts nicely to different screens. So, what does this mean? If for those of us that have accessed websites before, right? If you paid attention, you'll notice that if you open a website with your laptop, okay, if you open a website with a laptop and you also open that website, the same website with your mobile device. Okay, by mobile device, I mean maybe your Android, your iOS, your smartphones. Okay, you notice that they are not going to look the same. Okay, the positioning of elements, of text, of some pictures, they are going to look different. Okay, they are going to look different. So that is why um, responsive design is very, very important. Okay, that's why responsive design is very, very important, right? So remember, I said that responsive design is a website, you know, um, that adapts nicely to different screens. Okay, responsive web design is a type of web design, right, that adapts to different screens. So if I open a website with a laptop, okay, um, it shouldn't look the same. Like what is going to be displayed when I view that same website with my smartphone. Okay, why? Because these are two different screen sizes. Okay, so guys, we're going to come to screen sizes, but these are two different screen sizes. Okay, we also have another screen size, right? Which is tablets. Okay, the medium screen size. So we have desktop, right? Which, for example, is your laptop. Okay, are you following me, guys? So if you're following, please, I want to see some comments, some thumbs up. Let me know if you are following me. Let me know if you are following me. So these are different screen sizes, like I said before, right? So, um, laptop, right, is another screen size, right? And um, it's being categorized into desktop. Okay, in web development, we basically have um, desktop, right, tablets, and mobile, screen sizes, right? So um, your laptop happens to fall into desktop, right, screen sizes. We also have tablets. Okay, that's the medium screen sizes. Okay, now that is two, and then we as well have the mobile, which are the small screens. Okay, small devices. Okay, so those are three screen sizes I just mentioned. Okay, so when you are developing a website, you must have these three screen sizes in mind, because users are most likely to be viewing your website from any of these three viewports. Okay, so guys, I'm as well going to mention viewports a lot, right? I'm going to mention viewports a lot, and you should as well know that viewports basically refers to um the the screen size, right? Whether it is desktop or tablet or mobile, right? So that's viewports, right? So think of viewports like what's the size, what's the width, right? What's the height and width of the device that is being used to access this particular application, that's being used to access this particular website. Okay, so that is that. I hope that is clear. So we also have um okay, I hope that is clear. So we also have mobile first CSS. Okay, so um and then we have float sizing. Okay, all of this we are going to talk about them, but float sizing means you are going to be applying percentages, rem, fractions, and minimum and maximum, right? Instead of um, say pixel or some specific styling, that's not going to make your 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 web page very responsive. Okay, so we also have media queries. Okay, and we are going to learn about all of these things, guys. But yes, media queries. Then we have modern layout systems. Okay, Flexbox and Grid, which we are going to talk about in a GP. Okay, and also, so let's talk about mobile first design. Okay, now in software development or web design, web development. Okay, you'll be hearing a lot about mobile first design. Okay, you'll be hearing a whole lot about mobile first design. It is not hard, right? It's not hard. It's simple, and the idea is you design your layout for small screens first. Okay, you design your layout for small screens first. Your default CSS is mobile, okay? And then when you're finished styling your CSS, right? That is when you will now, when you finish styling your CSS for Android or iOS, that's mobile, okay? For mobile screens, that's when you will now, um, you know, upgrade or try to style for tablets and also for desktop. But mobile first design means that you actually started, styling with mobile. Okay. So the question was, how is this going to look? on mobile first, right? So you start for mobile, and if you're okay with the mobile, you now go ahead to start for other screen sizes. Okay, so why is this the best approach for beginners? So it forces simple and clean layouts. Okay, it forces clean and simple layouts, right? It's you write less CSS, you have less CSS to override. Okay, so and then most users are on mobile. Okay, so most of the users that access website daily use their mobile devices to do that. Okay, um instead of say desktop or tablets. Okay, so guys, if you are following me up to this point, please let me know. Let me know if I am audible. If you are following me, are you lost? Is there any question? Can I continue? Okay, so let us continue. Let us continue. So, guys, if you have any comments, please drop it um, in the section, and I'm going to respond as soon as possible. Okay, also, we have mobile first media query. Okay, we have mobile first media query. Okay, so um, what exactly is media query? Okay, what exactly is media query? I am going to um, explain this, right? I'm going to explain this for us to understand. Okay, so what are media queries? Media query is I want to explain it like um, a specific query or instruction, right, that you give to your CSS to position certain elements, right, to position certain elements um, based on the screen size that is viewing that website. Okay, let me take that again. Media queries are basically specific instructions, right? Just like the word query, right? To queries to ask for something, right? To make an instruction, right? Um, particular queries, instructions, right? Or specifications that you give to your CSS, and then tell it if the screen size is this, right? If the width of the screen is this, to this, right? This is how I want these elements to be displayed. Okay, this is how I want these elements to be displayed. Are we together? So let's let's dive into that. Let's dive into that. So I will open. Okay. So for example, right? For example, I'm going to open up my code editor, and this is my HTML file, right? This is my HTML and this is my CSS. Okay, so guys, remember we said that it is best to use external styling for your CSS, right? So what I'm going to do, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start styling from here, okay, from my CSS file. So um, how exactly is this done? Okay, how exactly is this done? Now, um, there is a CSS keyword, right, called media. Okay, there's a CSS keyword called media, and it is used to target, screen sizes. Okay, it is used to target screen sizes. So, for example, right, for example, if I come here and then I say at media, sorry, at media, right? So this is the CSS keyword, right? At media, and then the next thing that follows, right, is the condition. So I will say minimum width, right? Minimum width, and use 768, right, pixel. Okay, and um so let's say, for example, we have a card class, right? So we can just use to um you can just choose to, let's say, give it some padding, right? And then we say 20 pixel. Okay, so other classes, so let's say color, sorry, can say color, right? And then we see green, for example. Okay, so now, what this means, right? What this means is that, um, remember I said that this is a special CSS code, right? This is a special CSS code, right? And what you're seeing here is the condition, okay? So you're saying if the minimum width, right? The minimum width of this um device, right? Of this device, right? Of this media, right? This device that is viewing, this card, if this device has minimum width of um 768, then you should apply padding of 20 pixel and a green color, right? So that is the explanation, right? So what you're having here is the condition, okay? What you're having here is the condition, and this will only apply, right? This will only apply if this condition is true. So if my minimum width is not, up to 765 pixel, then this is not going to be applied. Okay, sorry guys, are you following me? Can I get a thumbs up if you're following me? Okay, so let's continue, right? So what this means, right? What this means is that this is going to target tablets. Okay, this is going to tablets. This is going to target tablets. Sorry, tablets of medium screen sizes. Okay, are you following me, guys? So yes, let us continue. So mobile first uses minimum width, right, instead of width. Okay, now you start small and then you enhance big. Okay, we also have maximum width. Okay, we also have maximum width, and maximum width is something like this, right? say maximum width. Okay, so um that is that's right. And if we okay, so we have some common breakpoints, right? For example, we have 480 pixel, right? Sorry, 480 480 pixel, and this is small screens, so smaller screens, right? I'll just say mobile. Okay, mobile. And um also um tablets, right? So we have what once we just learn about, right? um I will call this medium, medium screens, right? And I will say tablets. Okay, so and then we as well have um 10 um 24, right, pixel, and then I can call this um say larger screens, and then this is going to be laptops, right? And um I can also say 120 80 pixel, right? And I would say wide desktop. Okay, so wide desktop screens, right? So um this right, so these are the so these are um guys, these are the popular screen sizes. Okay, these are the popular screen sizes, right? So when you're writing your media queries, you're going to be targeting this, right? So 0 to 480, right, is regarded as a mobile screen. Okay, after that, to um 7, 6, 8, right, is regarded as tablets. And we have laptops, and we have wider screens, right? So um that is that, right? So let us proceed. Let's proceed. Okay, please take note of these screen sizes. Okay, take note of these screen sizes, and we're going to still come back to them. So now think of media queries as: if screen is at least 768 pixel wide, then apply these extra styles. Okay, and that's what we did um here. Okay, that's what we did here. So let's go on. Let's proceed. Now, um, we have explained media queries. Okay, and we have explained the common breakpoints. Okay, what you have here, right, are the common breakpoints. Right, what you have here are the common breakpoints. Okay, so and then um we have real life responsive changes you make with media queries. Okay, you can change the layout direction, right, to column or rows. So um, let us do um, some illustration, right? Let us do some illustration and see how this actually plays out. Okay, so if we have if we have let us if we have a div, right, and we're going to call this um, block one, right, and I'm simply going to copy this, right, and paste here, and I will call this block two, right, and this also will be block three. Okay, so um let me put this in a div. We will put all of this right in a div, right. So I am going to um just format this. um so that doesn't look nice. Let me Okay. Think I will just okay. So we have this div blocks, right? And we have covering them. Okay, so we have um divs, three divs blocks, right? Block one, block two, block three. Okay. So what can we do? We can go ahead and style them. Okay. So we can call this um div. Let's just call this div block, right? And you can come here and target this, right? So you can give it padding, right? And give it padding of, let's say, um 15 pixel, right? um so what class can we give to this? Let's give it color um of let's say blue violet. And what else class can we give to that? So we can we were going to come back to that, but let's so I'm just going to um copy this, right? So guys, I hope you understand what I am doing. And then inside here I'm going to have, let me call this a container, right? So now in this container I am going to style this container. Okay, so I will now say um flex direction, right? Flex direction, this is going to be row. Okay, this is going to be row, and this is going to be display flex. Okay, it's going to be display flex. Okay, so um okay, so okay, so um what do we have? we have this, and how is this going to look? So let's go live, right? Let's run live, and let's see how this looks, right? Okay, so let's give it a background color, right? Let's give it a background color. So we come here, and let's give it background um, color, right? Background color of okay, let's try light gray, right? And let's see how that is going to look. So guys, please, are you following me? Are you following me? Can you question? Do you have a question so far? So um okay. So this is how it looks, right? This is how it looks. But let us style that again, right? So um we can have a margin, right? We can have margin of, let's say, 20 pixel, right? And um you can see how that looks, right? You can see how that looks. Margin, okay. Um Padding, let's say 20 pixel again, and okay. So okay guys, now this is one of the important um CSS properties to understand. Okay, so um remember that when we style our container, right, we give it a flex direction of column. Okay, flex direction column, right? So guys, I want to believe that we understand what flex and column means. Sorry, column and rows. Okay, columns and rows, right? So so um now column, right, is the vertical stacking. Okay, column is the vertical stacking, while rows are the horizontal stacking. So when we, give flex direction of row, right, and we have this to be positioned, row wise. Okay, that's on one line, right? That's row. But if it is column, right? If it is column, then it's going to be, stacked um, vertically. Okay, going to be stacked vertically. Okay, so these are one of the things we can do, right? So in mobile, right? Let's say you have a width of um let's say 300 pixels for each of the blocks, right? For each of the blocks, and you have this to be row. Okay, guys, each of these, right, has 300 pixel. Okay, and this is going to cause a problem when it is mobile. Okay, it's going to cause a problem if it is mobile, right? It's going to cause a problem if it is mobile. Okay, so what we can do instead, for let's say if we add another block, right? Then we add another block. Okay, so let's call this block 4, right? And we call this block 5, right? Now, um, let's as well have block 6, and so you don't want this to keep happening. Okay, so as the blocks increases, right, you don't want to on mobile, this is not going to look nice. Okay, you don't want to put everything on one line. Okay, you don't want to put everything on one line. Now, yes, this may look okay, right, on desktop, which is it is actually. Okay, so this looks okay on desktop, but when you're now viewing this particular thing on um the mobile, okay, you don't have to place them like this, and that is where media query comes in. Okay, so you can use media query to to condition it such that when you are viewing this from a mobile screen, then you can choose to stack this however you want it. Okay, so um, we can write some queries, right? So we can say at media, right? If we say max width, right? Max width, let's say of 4 um 480, right? So let's say 480, right? 480. There is 480 for smaller screens, okay? 480 for smaller screens, right? So max with a 480, right? What do we want to do? We want to target this container, okay? We want to target this container, and then we want to change this flex direction, okay? We want to change the flex direction um to instead of row, we want to change it to column. Okay, change it to column. Okay, so um okay, okay. So Um, now, I wrote a media query here, right, that targets four um 480 pixel width. Okay, so our um screen size for this mobile has 360. Okay, and then we say the minimum height, the minimum width, right, of the viewports, should be 480, right. um Anything other than that, then the flex direction should be column. Okay, so see, that is why um we have this, right, to be stacked um vertically instead of horizontally. Okay, so I think we've done really much on that. So let's move on, guys. Let's move on. Um, let's move on. Okay, guys, are you following me? Please, are you following me? Give me a thumbs up if you're following me. I need the comments if you're following me. So I want to believe that we've seen the code now, right? Um, and then you can try to run this on your PC and see how that looks. Okay, so we are going to move away from there, and we are going to. So what we've just done now is, the flex box. Okay, what we've just done now is the flex box. Okay, so remember we said display flex. Okay, so we've just used the flex here, and the flex box is best for one dimensional layout. Okay, aligning items in a row or column, right? Navigation bars, you can use it in card rows, you can use it in buttons, alignments, centering elements. Okay, so flexbox vocabulary. So you say parents with display flex. Okay, parents with display flex. So what it means is that if you look at this code, right, this is the parents div. Okay, this div here covers um covers every other thing, covers all these blocks here. Okay, so the right thing to do is to, style this to be displayed as, okay, style this to be displayed as flex. Are we together? So and then you say flex direction rows or column, right? Flex direction rows or column. Okay, just like what we did here, right? Flex direction row or column, right? And this is the media query. Okay, so um that's for that. And then we also have the grid. Okay, now grid is best for two-dimensional layout. Okay, rows and columns at the same time. Okay, so um rows and columns at the same time, full page layouts, complex responsive sections, galleries and dashboards. Okay, so we are going to dive into real time coding, guys, and we're going to see how that plays out. Okay, so um, the convention is display grid. Okay, display grid, instead of having display flex, you now have display grid, right? But when you write display grid, you now have to specify, right, your grid template columns. Okay, um we are going to come to that. We are going to come to that. Okay, so um So when should you use Flexbox? Please, I want you to take note of this before we start writing grid codes, right? So you should use Flexbox when you're aligning items in a row or column, right? When you're styling navigation bars, button groups, small layout pieces, okay? And then you should use grid when building page sections with rows plus columns, okay? Galleries, dashboards, complex layouts, okay? You want strong control over both directions, okay? In real websites, you use both, okay? Grid and Flexbox, okay? So, um, also we have CSS transitions, okay? We have CSS transitions, and CSS transitions are, animates changes between two states. Okay, CSS transition animates changes between two states. Okay, so let's say you over on something, you over on a button or an element, it changes its style from one style to another. Okay, that's an example of transition. Okay, and how is transition done? Going to real life coding. Also have animations. So I'm going to start our coding session, and as I would type the codes for our coding session, I'm going to be explaining most of this concept. Okay, so that our class will not take too long. Okay, so let's build a responsive landing page with hero session and gallery. Okay, so I want you guys to follow me very well, right? I want you guys to follow me very, very well. And um, I will be explaining most of these concepts, while as I type the codes, right, for our practical today. Okay, so guys, let's begin. I want us to write a comment, ask questions if you don't understand, right? Ask questions if you don't understand. Let me know if you're following me. You're following me. Give me a thumbs up. Okay, so let's start according practicals. Okay, so anything you don't understand, draw my attention. Send a comment and we'll reply you. Okay, so let's begin. Let's begin. So I am going to remove this for now, right? I'm going to remove this for now. Take this off, and I'm going to clear this off as well. Okay, so what I will do here is I will specify the HTML language. Okay, so I can say language, right, is equals to, so we're using English. Okay, so this lang, en, tells the browser to read the document as English. Okay, because we're using English. Okay, so another thing we can specify is the meta tag. Okay, for those of us that don't know what meta tag is, so meta tag is used um search engine ranking. Okay, so it give you some good keywords about your website, and it helps it identify, right, and understand what your website is about. Okay, so we can have meta name. Okay, we can say viewports, right, and then we can have contents, right, And yes, this is the meta tag. Okay, so also um we can change this to real responsive website section. Okay, now we already linked our CSS. Okay, this CSS here, we have linked it. Okay, so let's go ahead, right? I'm going to remove this. That was in the last class. I'm as well going to take this off. Okay, so inside the body, right? I want to have some headers, right? I want to have some headers, right? And this header, right, is going to have a class, right? So let's have a class, right? Let's have a class, and then we'll call it header. Okay, let's have a class and we'll call it header, right? Inside the class, we'll have, let's have a div, right? Let's have a div, and then we can call this, um, um, def bootcamp, right? Bootcamp, right? So this div can have, we're going to style this, right? So we can call this, let's just call it brand, right? And this where header ends, right? So inside this we can still have, we can have, let's have a nav, right? And then this nav, we are just going to call it nav. Okay, and then we're going to give it an ID, right, of nav. Okay, so then inside here, let's have some links, right? So I am just going to um leave this empty for now, right? I'm going to leave this empty for now, and then I'm going to say home, right? So I'll just copy this and paste. Oh, my bad. So um, I am going to change this to programs, right? And this should be projects, right? And this is going to be contacts. Okay, so enough ends here, right? So here we can also have a button. Okay, so let's have a button, right? Let's have a button, and this button is going to have a class, right? So this button is going to have a class of menu. Okay, so we call this menu. Let's say menu btn. Okay, and then let's give it an ID, right? An ID of menu btn. Okay, so let's see some um, area label, right? And then let's call this open menu. Okay, so um we need something here, right? We need something here, and I'm going to paste this. I'm going to paste this as we proceed. um okay, let's leave it here for now, right? Let's leave this here for now, we'll come back to it. And also, right, so this is where header ends, right? This is where header ends. And let's have, after our header, right, let's have the main, the main, right? Let's have the main, and inside this main we are going to have, you know um let's have a class here, and I'm going to call this class container. Okay, now inside this main, right, we can have a section, right? We can have a section, and then we can have a div. Okay, now this section is going to have a class of hero. Okay, with this section a class of hero, and then this div, right, we can give it hero text. Okay, and give it hero text, right, and we can have h1 here, right, and then we say build real responsive websites. Okay, build real responsive websites, right, and let's have some p tags here, right, and then we can see um learn mobile, right, learn mobile first design, right, media queries, and we can say flexbox, right, grid, right, and animations. Okay, and animations, right, animations by building um production production style, right, layouts. Okay, so um so these are p tag, right, and then we can have some actions after this div, right, after this p tag, right, we can have say div here, right, and this div is going to have a class, right, let's have some a tags here, and then we call this btn so primary, right, and href, okay, so um we are almost done, guys. So we can have another div here, right, and then we can have an h3, right, we have an h3, and we can call this what's your real let's say master. Okay, so we can give this a class, right, let's call it hero card, right, and let's have some lists here. So if we have an other lists, right, and inside here we have l, and then we have mobile, mobile first layout, right, um I'm just going to copy this, right, and paste paste and paste. And now, just change this to, let's change this to media media queries, right? And let's say, let's change this to flexbox alignment, right? And let's change this to say grid as a template. And then lastly, let's have transitions and animations. Okay. Okay. So I want to believe we are done with this section, right? So let's start another section, right? So we can have another section, right? And um let's let's give it a class of features. Okay, let's give it a class of features. In this section is going to have, we're going to have, let's have an h2, right? Let's have an h2, right? And then let's have some text there. So we have features, and after this we can have we can have an h3, right? And we call this, instead of h3, let's have a div, right? Let's have a div, and this div we are going to have some articles. So article, right? So articles, right? And let us style this as well. So we have a class for this, and then we give it, let's say, feature grid. Okay, feature grid. And in this article we can now have, let's say, h3, and then we call it so some fast layouts. Now we can give this a class, right? And give this a class and call it feature. Okay, let's call that feature, and we can have a p tag, right? And then say use grid plus flexbox the way um real developers do. Okay, so we are still going to have another article. So let's copy this, right? Let's copy this, and um here we are going to have some different text. Okay, so let's say responsive by default, right? By default. And here we can, use some text. Let's say um starts mobile first. I start mobile first, then upgrade at breakpoint. Okay, at breakpoints. Okay, so um we're also still going to copy this, and let's change some text again. So what we're going to write this time, so let's say polished UI, and Okay, so we are almost done, guys. Almost done. So another article you can have, let's say modern patterns, and then we can have auto fits grids. Guys, please let me know if you're following me. Okay, so I want to believe that everyone is following me. Okay, so please let me know if you're following me. Let me know if, okay, I am going to zoom my screen again a bit, right? Please, I hope this is visible enough. Hope this is visible enough. Okay, so let's start a different section, right? Let's start a different section, and um, we are going to have an H2 here. What do we call this? Let's call this responsive. Let's call it gallery. Okay, so we can have grid here, grid, right? And we can start this section. Let's give it a class, and let's call it gallery. Okay, so H2 and div, right? Let's have a div here, and then let's call this um one, right? So I'm going to give this a class of gallery grid. Okay, so okay, so take this out. Let's make this um let's make this 6. Okay, so let's see, after the sections, after the main, you can have a footer. Okay, so let's have a footer, and we're going to give this footer a class of footer. Okay, and then we can have a p tag, and for some reasons I don't have this copied, so I'm just going to use this. So um okay, so um it should be all, but let's write some scripts here, guys. Don't worry about this, I'm going to explain it. So can say menu btf is equals to document that gets element by id, right? Document that gets element by id, and then let's target this class menu btn, right? Menu btn. Okay, so cons now document that element by id now. Okay, and also we can have menu btn dot, let's add an event listener, right? Event listener. Let's add an on-click event. Guys, don't worry about this. I'm going to explain this. And um, okay, so let's see how this looks on the browser, right? Let's see how this looks on the browser. Okay, guys, JavaScript is going to start in the next class. So don't bother about the JavaScript part. Okay, JavaScript is going to start in the next class. Okay. For now, digest the HTML and the CSS. Don't worry about the JavaScript. Okay. So let's see how this looks on the browser, right? And okay, so this is how our website looks, right? This is how our website looks. Okay, this is how our website looks, and it's not looking really nice, right? Because we've not applied CSS yet. So let's go ahead and apply all the things we've learned, right? So if you look at this, I press F12, right? F12 on my keyboard, and it opens this. Um, okay, so let's go ahead and start this and make it responsive. Okay, there's no um, styling here. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this, right? Okay, so I want to believe everyone can see my screen. To believe everyone can see my screen. Okay, guys. So, um, for those of us that were not in class when we learned inline CSS, internal CSS, and external CSS. So, what we're using here is external CSS, okay, and that is styling our code in a different file. Okay, so you create a different file and then make your code. But inline CSS, right? Inline CSS is something like this. So you say style, right? And um, let's say you apply color, right? Apply color, then you say red. Okay, so this is inline styling. You are styling it, in the HTML tag. Okay, this is inline styling, and this is one way to style. Okay, but that is one, right? We also have internal um styling, right? And internal styling, right, is a type of styling where you have for example, you have styles, right? You have style, right? And here, let's say you have your card, and then you start, styling it. Okay, right? So this is internal styling, right? You styling it in same in the same file. Okay, in the same file, but not in the line in the HTML tag, right? But you use the style tag, and then everything that is inside the style tag, you know, your HTML and JavaScript, right? The browser is going to understand it. Okay, so this becomes CSS, styling. This is recognized as CSS, right? So this is internal, and what we did before now was, inline. But this now, right? And this is what is recommended. Okay, so we're going to remove this, and we're going use to use external styling. Okay, so let's go on. Let's continue. So what we can do, we can do some box sizing, right? So we can do some box sizing, and then there's a box sizing border box. Okay, and if we return this, right? Um, we know, and we've done all this before now. So let's have font family. Let's use system UI. We have let's use area. Okay, let's use this. Okay, then we're going to have background, right? So um ball is going to, let's use 5657. Okay, let's use this color. um, so let's have color. So this is going to have parents and text decoration. Okay, so let's style a container, right? So let's give a container with mean of, let's say pixel and 92%. Okay, 92%. Let's give margin zero auto. Sorry, so we have margin zero and then we have padding of 24 um pixel, right? Um, that's right, and the top was zero. Okay, so after that, right? I mean, we're going to position our data sticking. I want to believe we understand what sticky does, right? Let's give the z index, z index. Let's say z index of 10. Okay, and then let's display it as flex, and let's align these items to the center. Align items to the center, and then justify space between, and then let's give the gap of 12 pixel. Okay, and we can as well give some padding. Can as well padding. Let's give the padding of 14 pixel, and then 4%. You can as well give it background color, right? Background color of white, right? And also, um, let's have further button. So border, I'm going to hit a solid, and position this. So let's do it width of 20 pixel. Then we can have background let's have border space, and we can have a padding, and then let's have radius border radius to be 12 pixel. Okay, let's tell our open bar dot open, right? Now the post open wants to display flex, and minimum TM, So let's have solid credit zone and use this color. So let's give the background of whites, and let's have border radius of 12, right? Border radius of 12, and let's change our cursor. So cursor um pointer. Okay, so over on that cursor should be pointer. Okay, so um, let's see how that looks. Okay, so let me show us how that looks so far. Um, so this is how it looks, right? This is how it looks so far. Can you guys see my screen? So this is how it looks. Guys, do want to replace this with program. Okay, I'm going to change that. So this is how it looks far, right? So let's continue. Okay, so let's proceed. Let's proceed. So let's style our hero section. Okay, so we can have a background color of whites, background color of whites, border, and give it a border of then can have border, and then we have pixel, and then solid this can have let's make this 18, and then we can have padding of 18 as well, and then we can display flex. We can also make our flex direction to be column, and then we have a gap of 14 pixel, right? So let's start the hero style h1, right? And then we can have margin of 0 0 8 pixel, right? And let's have font size of that, and we can have a line height, right? Line height, let's use 1.15. Okay, so let's style our actions. um you can see display flex, and we can use 10 for this. Okay, so we want to say flex wrap, right? And then we say wrap. Okay, so btn, we can say display inline block, right? We can give it a padding of 14, let's say, right? And 14 pixel. You can have a border radius. So border radius, let's make it 12 pixel. Okay, and also this, right? Let's go on with that. So let's add some transition, right? So we want it to transform, right? To transform, let's see, so 18 seconds um is box shadow base. So sorry guys, the class is taking long, but we are running off soon. So transform translates. So we are going to use 10 and we'll use 24 for that's also here. Let's leave this as 2 minus 2, okay? So let's style our buttons. So btn dot primary, right? We have a background. So let us use 1, 2, 3. Nice. And then let's use color of whites, and let's use this back border color. We are as well going to color hero card. Um, so we can have background color. So imagine let's give it 18. Let's style our feature. Okay, features. You can have margin. Let's margin top of 22 pixel, and we can have feature. Okay, we can have features h2. We can have margin of this. Okay, so we can as well style grid. Okay, let's style a grid, and then we are going to say display grid. display grid. Then we have gap of 12 pixels and grid templates. Grid templates. So you say repeats. Okay. Auto fits minmax. Minmax string to px fraction like that. So let's style our feature. You can say background color of white, and you can use 18 here and we'll use 16 here. Okay, so you can transform that. So you can apply some transition. Let me say transform ms is. So let's style our feature as well. Feature. So let's style our gallery, right? Let's start our gallery and let's give it margin top 22 pixel and we can style our gallery h2. Let's use 12 here. Sorry guys, I'm trying to rush because our class is taking longer than it should. So grid, and you can say display grid, and then gap of 12. Let's give grid template of 140. Okay, grid template of 140. So let's go ahead and style our tile to have height of 0, 1, 2, 0, and then let's give it some border radius of 18. Okay, so um, we are still styling our tile class. So border radius, border, let's give 1 pixel, and background color, we are going with white. Okay, so display flex, and we can justify it to be center, and we can give it some font weight. um for the 600, let's use 800 instead. Okay, and also let's style our footer. So dot footer. So let's align the text align um center, right? Let's add some padding to be 20 pixel, and then let's have color. Okay, so we are done, guys. Let's add some keyframes. Add some keyframes. So fade up. We're going to use positive 0 to 10 to from this to this. Um, okay, and then this is an animation. Okay, let me. So this is animation. Okay, right? Animation, guys. Let's target as a tablet. Okay, and you say let's say tablets up, right? So guys, this is what we learn in today's class. We are applying and remember what we did here: minimum width, right? Minimum width, and tablets, right? 6 8 pixel. Okay, so let's we want to show the menu differently. So menu btn, let's display. I don't want this to display on tablets, the navbar, and then pretty much it's so we are done, guys. So let's start a navbar for this display. Flex, say position. Let's position is static, and we can have a flex direction of row, width of auto, um border none, and then background color should be transparent. um okay, we can go with this. And apart from that, you can style a hero section for tablets, right? To have flex direction of row, item center, padding. So let's take this and give it some padding. Um, okay, let's go with flex of 1. And let's go with this, guys. two instead, and this should be one. Okay. So we can as well go ahead and start for laptops. Okay, let's do this for accessibility improvements. Okay, and we're going to say at media, at media, and then say prefers reduce motion, and then we are going to say reduce. Okay, and then um we're just going to use this. Okay, so let's see how this looks. Let's see how it looks. And I hope everything goes well. If you get any error, we are going to debug it. Okay, let's see how this looks. Let's see how this looks. I hope you can see the codes, guys. I hope you can see the codes. And okay, let's see how this looks. Okay, guys, so this is how this looks. Okay, this is how this looks, and I hope you can see my screen. I hope everyone can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Okay, so guys, this is how this looks, and I press F12 on my keyboard, and you see, guys, this is responsive, right? This is responsive, right? So this is what responsive um web design. Okay, see, if I'm doing this with a small laptop, you see how it stacks. You know, the element changes. Okay, and if I change this to mobile, okay, you see this mobile device. You see, everything stacks very well. right, guys? So you see, this is you know, responsive design. Okay, so this is a responsive design. This is how it looks. So guys, you need to change this to an hamburger menu. Okay, so um look up what we call hamburger menu and use an hamburger menu there. Okay, um I'm going to see you in the community. Okay, and show us, if you are able to insert an hamburger menu here. Okay, so guys, that will be all for today's class. Okay, so our project is responsive. We are able to build a responsive website with flex, grid on animations and transitions. Okay, so guys, um if you're not subscribed to this channel, hit the subscribe button or follow the link in this video, okay, to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I will see you in the next class, guys. Also, guys, before I drop off, the link to this code will be in the video description. Okay, the link to this code will be in the video description, and your assignment is to replicate this class project. Okay, replicate this as your assignment. Okay, replicate this as your assignment, and follow us on our social medias, our YouTube pages, and we'll see you in the next class.